from this
Friends, welcome to the YouTube video. We are going to talk about the non-inverting op-amp configuration and we will see how to use this op-amp as a voltage follower. Now in the last video we had seen the inverting op-amp configuration, and in that configuration we had seen that using the negative feedback we can control the gain of this op-amp, and in that configuration we have applied the input to this inverting terminal of the op-amp and we have grounded the non-inverting terminal. Now let us see what happens when we apply this input to this non-inverting terminal. So let's say we have applied the input to this non-inverting terminal and we have grounded this inverting terminal. So this kind of configuration is known as the non-inverting op-amp configuration, because here the output and the input voltage. So now before we find the relationship between the output and input voltage, let me redraw the same circuit so that you can have a better idea about the circuit. So here I have redrawn the same circuit in a different way. So here we have applied the input to this non-inverting input terminal and we have a feedback resistance RF between the output and the inverting input terminal. And if you see here, the one end of this resistance R1 is connected to the resistance RF and another end of this resistor R1 is connected to the ground. So if you see here, the fraction of output voltage is going as a feedback to this inverting input terminal. So let us say here at this point the voltage is Vx, and this Vx voltage is going as a feedback to this inverting input terminal. Now using the voltage divider rule, we can say that this voltage Vx, that is equal to R1 divided by R1 plus Rf into Vout. So this voltage will be going as a feedback to this inverting input terminal. So at this point also the voltage will be equal to Vx. Now in the last video we had seen that whenever we are using this op-amp in a negative feedback configuration, then there will be a virtual short between both the input terminals of this op-amp. It means that whatever voltage that appears at one end of this input terminal, the same voltage will appear at the another end of the input terminal. It means that V plus, that is equal to V minus, and that is because of this virtual short between this non-inverting and the inverting input terminal. So here in this configuration we are applying the input voltage to this non-inverting terminal. That means V plus, that is equal to V in. So because of this virtual short at this inverting input terminal also, the voltage should be equal to V in. That means V minus should be equal to V in, and we know that V minus, that is equal to Vx. So we can write this input voltage V in, that is equal to R1 divided by R1 plus Rf into Vout, or we can say that Vout divided by V in, that is equal to R1 plus Rf divided by R1. So this will be the closed loop gain of this non-inverting op-amp configuration. So in non-inverting op-amp configuration, the relation between the output and input is equal to 1 plus Rf divided by R1. So in this non-inverting op-amp configuration also, just by controlling the value of this Rf and R1, we can control the gain of this op-amp. But in this non-inverting op-amp configuration, the output and input will have a same phase. So let's say if I apply 1 volt of DC signal at this non-inverting input terminal, and if I take value of R1 as 1 kilo ohm, then my gain of this op-amp will be equal to 1 plus 2 divided by 1, that is equal to 3. So at the output I will get 3 volt of DC signal, or instead of DC voltage, let's say if I apply a 1 volt of sinusoidal signal, and if I have a value of Rf as 2 kilo ohm and R1 as 1 kilo ohm, then at the output I will get a 3 volt of amplified AC signal which is having a same phase with respect to input signal. So in this non-inverting op-amp configuration, just by controlling the value of this feedback resistance Rf and R1, we can control the gain of this op-amp, and in this configuration the output and input are in a phase. So this is all about the non-inverting op-amp configuration. So now here the question is, what is the advantage of this non-inverting op-amp configuration over this inverting op-amp configuration? Because if you see both the configurations, in both the configurations we can control the gain using this feedback resistance Rf and R1. So let us find out some of the advantages of non-inverting op-amp configuration over this inverting op-amp configuration. Now one of the obvious advantage of this non-inverting op-amp configuration is that the output and input both are in a phase. While in case of this inverting op-amp configuration, there is a 180-degree phase shift between the output and the input voltage. Apart from this, if you see this non-inverting op-amp configuration, then in this configuration, the input impedance of the circuit is very high. And if we consider the ideal op-amp, then in that case, the input impedance of the circuit is infinite. While in case of this inverting op-amp configuration, the input impedance depends upon the value of R1. So if we consider the ideal op-amp, then in that case, the input impedance of this inverting op-amp will be equal to R1. So now let us derive the expression for this input impedance in case of this inverting as well as the non-inverting op-amp configuration. So now if you see the inverting op-amp configuration, then in this configuration, the input impedance is the impedance that is seen through this voltage source Vin. Or in another words, we can say that the input impedance of this configuration is equal to the input voltage divided by the current that is going into the circuit. So let us say the current I in is going into this circuit. So now here the ratio of input voltage divided by this input current will give us the input impedance of this configuration. Now we know that in this inverting op-amp configuration, this node will act as a virtual ground because here this non-inverting terminal is already grounded. So we can say that this I in that is equal to V in divided by R1, or we can say that R1 that is equal to V in divided by I in. Now we know that V in divided by I in is equal to input impedance. So we can say that the input impedance of this inverting op-amp configuration is equal to R1. So the input impedance of this configuration depends upon the value of R1. So let's say if value of R1 is very low, then in that case the input impedance of the circuit will be low. So similarly, let us find the input impedance of this non-inverting op-amp configuration. So in this non-inverting op-amp configuration also, the input impedance is the impedance that is seen through supplied by this voltage source is I in, and the ratio of this V in divided by I in will gives us the input impedance of this non-inverting op-amp configuration. So now if we consider this op-amp as ideal op-amp, then there will not be any current that is going into this inverting and the non-inverting terminals, or we can say that this input current I in that is equal to approximately 0, and hence we can say that the input impedance is equal to infinite. So now in any circuit, whenever we have a very high input impedance, then that will ensure that the source that is connected to that circuit will not be get loaded. So let us understand this point. So let us say we have one voltage source Vs and it is having a source resistance Rs in. So now whenever the value of this input impedance is comparable to the value of this Rs, then in that case the voltage that appears across the two terminals of the circuit will be equal to Zin divided by Zin plus Rs into Vs, and as Zin is equal to Rs, then the value of voltage V will be equal to Vs by 2. So only half of the voltage will appear across this circuit. So in any circuit, the value of input impedance should be very high, so that whatever voltage that is being applied to that circuit will entirely appear across that circuit. So in this case of non-inverting op-amp configuration, as the input impedance is approximately equal to infinite, or in practical case it is very high, so whatever voltage that is applied to that circuit will entirely appear across that circuit. So that is the advantage of this non-inverting op-amp configuration. Now in this inverting op-amp configuration, let us say we have Rf that is equal to 0 and R1 that is equal to infinity. Then the circuit will look like this. So this circuit is known as the op-amp output terminal with this inverting op-amp terminal. So at this point voltage will be equal to V out, and because of the feedback V minus that is equal to V plus, or we can say that because of the feedback we have a virtual short between this inverting and the non-inverting op-amp terminals. So we can say that V minus will be equal to V in, or we can say that V in will be equal to V out. So it means that whatever voltage that is applied to this non-inverting op-amp terminal, the same voltage will appear at the output of this op-amp. So we can say that the output voltage follows the input voltage, and that is why this circuit is known as the voltage follower circuit. So the characteristic of this circuit is that the input impedance of this circuit is very high, or ideally it is infinite, and the output voltage will be equal to input voltage. So because of these two characteristics, this circuit is also known as the buffer circuit, because it will pass whatever input that is coming to it as it is, and it will provide the very high input impedance. So using this buffer circuit, we can isolate the two different circuits, and at the same time we can ensure that whatever voltage that is appearing at the output of the one circuit will appear at the input of the another circuit. And that is particularly useful when we have a low input impedance in one circuit. So I hope in this video you understand the advantages of this non-inverting op-amp configuration over the inverting op-amp configuration, and how in this video we will see how to use this op-amp as a summing amplifier, and using this op-amp configuration how we can add the different input voltages. So now in the earlier video of inverting and the non-inverting op-amp configuration, we have applied the single input either to the non-inverting or the inverting op-amp terminals. Now in this video we will apply the multiple inputs either to the inverting or the non-inverting op-amp terminal, and we will see how this configuration can be used as a summing amplifier. So first we will see the inverting summing amplifier, and in this configuration we will apply the multiple inputs to the inverting input terminal, and we will find the expression of the output voltage in terms of the different input voltages. So as you can see here, we have applied the input voltages V1, V2 and V3 to this inverting terminal via resistor R1, R2 and R3. And here let us assume that current I1, I2 and I3 are flowing through this resistor R1, R2 and R3. And let us say the current IF is flowing through this resistor RF. And here we are assuming the op-amp as a ideal op-amp. So no current is going inside this op-amp. And let us consider this node as a node X. Now in the earlier video of inverting op-amp configuration, we have seen the concept of virtual ground. And in that concept, we had seen that whenever we are applying the negative feedback to any op-amp, then there is a virtual short exists between the inverting and the non-inverting terminals. So if one terminal is at ground potential, then another terminal will also be at a ground potential, or we can say that it will act as a virtual ground. So this node will have a zero potential. So now let's apply a KCL at this node X. So applying KCL, we can write I1 plus I2 plus I3, that is equal to this current IF. Now as this terminal is at ground potential, so the current I1 will be equal to V1 minus 0 divided by R1. Likewise, this current I2 will be equal to V2 minus 0 divided by R2. And likewise, current I3 will be equal to V3 minus 0 divided by R3. Now this current IF will be equal to 0 minus Vout divided by this feedback resistor RF. That is 0 minus Vout divided by this feedback resistor RF. So if we simplify this expression, then we can write it as a V1 divided by R1 plus V2 divided by R2 plus V3 divided by R3, that is equal to minus Vout divided by RF. And if we further simplify it, then we can write it as a V1 plus RF divided by R2 times V2 plus RF divided by R3 times V3. Now we know that if we apply the single input to this non-inverting op-amp configuration, then the output voltage Vout can be given as minus RF divided by R1 times input voltage. Now here, instead of single input voltage, we have applied the multiple input voltages. So the output voltage will be equal to the algebraic sum of the individual responses. So this is the expression of the output voltage in case of the inverting summing amplifier. Now in this inverting summing amplifier configuration, let us assume that the value of R1, R2 and R3 is same. So in that case, the output voltage Vout will be equal to minus RF divided by R times V1 plus V2 plus V3. So now here, if value of RF is equal to R, then in that case our output voltage Vout will be equal to minus V1 plus V2 plus V3. So in this way we can use this op amp as an adder and we can add the multiple input voltages. So now suppose in this configuration, if R1, R2 and R3 are different, then in that case the ratio of this feedback resistor over these resistors R1, R2 and R3 will also be different. So in that case, along with the addition, we can also perform the scaling operation. So in that case, our output voltage Vout will be equal to minus A times V1 plus B times V2 plus C times V3, where A, B and C represents the ratio of this RF divided by R1, RF divided by R2 and RF divided by R3. So along with the addition, we can also perform the scaling operation. So along with this scaling and the addition operation, we can also perform the averaging operation using this configuration. So now let us see how we can perform the averaging of the different input voltages using this configuration. So let us once again assume that the R1, R2 and R3 are having a same value, and let us say the ratio of this RF divided by R is equal to 1 divided by N, where N represents the number of input voltages that is being applied to this inverting terminal. So in that case, our output voltage Vout will be equal to minus RF divided by R times V1 plus V2 plus V3, and if we put the value of this RF by R as 1 over N, that is equal to 1 over 3 in this case, then our output voltage will be equal to minus V1 plus V2 plus V3 divided by 3. So in this way our output voltage will be the average of the three different input voltages. So we can also perform the averaging operation using this configuration. So now let us see some more applications in which this inverting summing amplifier can be used for the operation of addition, averaging as well as the scaling. Apart from that, it can also be used to provide the DC offset to the input signals. So suppose if your input voltages are AC signals, or let us say it is coming from some sensor, and if you want to apply some DC, then using this configuration we can also apply some DC offset to the incoming signals. Likewise, this inverting summing amplifier can also be used for the digital to analog conversion, and apart from that it can also be used for the mixing the different audio signals. So these are the different applications in which this summing amplifier can be used. Now theoretically we can add the n number of input voltages to this op amp configuration, but practically if you see, the number of input voltage depends upon the power dissipation as well as the total current that can be supplied by the op amp. Because here if you see, the total current IF is the summation of the individual currents I1, I2, I3 up to IN. So this value should not exceed the maximum value that is supported by the op amp. Now one more interesting fact about this inverting op amp configuration is that all the individual voltage sources are isolated with respect to each other, and that is because of the concept of virtual ground. Because if you consider the individual voltage sources at a time, then at that time the remaining voltage sources will act as a short circuit. So if we consider this voltage source V1 that is acting alone, then at that time this voltage source V2 and V3 will be act as a short circuit, as well as the total current that can be supplied by the op amp. Because here if you see, the total current IF is the summation of the individual currents I1, I2, I3 up to IN. So this value should not exceed the maximum value that is supported by the op amp. Now one more interesting fact about this inverting op amp configuration is that all the individual voltage sources are isolated with respect to each other, and that is because of the concept of virtual ground. Because if you consider the individual voltage sources at a time, then at that time the remaining voltage sources will act as a short circuit. So if we consider this voltage source V1 that is acting alone, then at that time this voltage source V2 and V3 will be act as a short circuit, or we can say that they are at a ground potential. Now because of the virtual ground, this node is also at a ground potential. So the effective impedance that is seen by this voltage source V1 is the series resistance R1 of that particular voltage source. So we can say that there is a no interference between the different voltage sources, and that is the biggest advantage of this inverting summing amplifier. Now the output of this inverting summing amplifier is the negative voltage, but suppose if we want the positive voltage, then what we can do, we can connect one more inverting op-amp which is having a unity gain. So as you can see here, suppose if we connect one more inverting op-amp which is having a unity gain at this point, then the output voltage will be positive. So by using one more inverting op-amp, we can get the positive output voltage. So this is all about the inverting summing amplifier. Now let us see what happens when we apply the multiple input voltages at the non-inverting input terminal. So now in this non-inverting summing amplifier, we have applied the two input voltages at this non-inverting end, and we will find the output voltage in terms of the input voltages V1 and V2. Now we know that in case of this non-inverting configuration, the output voltage is equal to 1 plus RF divided by RA times the voltage at this node. Let us say that is equal to V plus. So as we have applied the multiple input at this end, so first of all we need to find this voltage V plus, and we can do so by applying the principle of superposition. So what we will do, we will consider the one voltage source at a time, and we will find the voltage at this node, and later on we will combine the individual responses to get the final response. So first of all, let us assume that this voltage source V1 is acting alone, and we have removed this voltage source V2. That means V2 is equal to 0. So for that case, let us say the voltage at this point is equal to V1 plus. So V1 plus will be equal to R2 divided by R1 plus R2 times this voltage V1. Likewise, when we consider this voltage source V2 is acting alone and V1 is equal to 0, in that case the voltage at this point is, let's say, V2 plus. So V2 plus will be equal to R1 divided by R1 plus R2 times this voltage V2. So in this way, when this voltage source V1 and V2 are acting alone, then in that case the V1 plus will be equal to this value and V2 plus will be equal to this value. So the overall voltage V plus will be equal to the summation of individual voltages, that is V1 plus plus V2 plus, that is equal to R2 divided by R1 plus R2 times V1 plus R1 divided by R1 plus R2 times V2. So this will be the voltage at this end because of this voltage V1 and V2. Now we know that the output voltage is equal to V plus. So our final output voltage will be equal to 1 plus RF divided by RA times this R2 divided by R1 plus R2 times V1 plus R1 divided by R1 plus R2 times V2. So this will be the final voltage that we get at the output of this non-inverting summing amplifier. So now let us simplify this equation a bit, and let us assume that this R1 is equal to R2 is equal to R. So when R1 is equal to R2 is equal to R, then in that case the output voltage Vout will be equal to 1 plus RF divided by RA times V1 plus V2 divided by 2. Now if we consider RF is equal to RA, then in that case the output voltage Vout will be equal to V1 plus V2. That is the addition of the voltage V1 and V2. So in this way, using this non-inverting summing amplifier V1 and V2. So in this way, using this non-inverting summing amplifier also, we can perform the addition. Now let us take the case when we have a three different input voltages that is connected to this non-inverting terminal. So as you can see here, we have a three different input voltages V1, V2 and V3, which are connected to this non-inverting terminal via resistor R1, R2 and R3. So here also we will consider the one voltage source at a time, and we will find the voltage at this non-inverting terminal, and later on we will add the individual responses to get the voltage at this non-inverting terminal. So first of all, let us assume that this voltage source V1 is acting alone and V2 and V3 is equal to 0. So in that case the circuit will look like this. So the voltage at this point, let us say, is equal to V1 3 divided by R1 plus R2 parallel R3 times this voltage V1. So this is the voltage that you get at this point when this voltage source V1 is acting alone. Likewise, we can have a voltage V2 plus that is equal to R1 parallel R3 divided by this R2 plus R1 parallel R3 times this voltage V2. This is the expression when the voltage source V2 is acting alone. Likewise, we can have a V3 plus, that is equal to R2 parallel R1 divided by R3 plus R2 parallel R1 times this voltage V3. So the total voltage that appears at this point will be the summation of these individual voltages. So as you can see here in this non-inverting configuration, as the number of input voltages are increasing, the complexity is also increasing. And to here reduce the complexity, let us assume that R1, R2 and R3 are equal. So when all the three values are same, then the value of V1 plus will be equal to V1 divided by 3. Likewise, the value of V2 plus will be equal to V2 divided by 3. And likewise, V3 plus will be equal to V3 divided by 3. So in short, when R1, R2 and R3 are equal, in that case, the V plus will be equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3 divided by 3. And the output voltage V out will be equal to 1 plus RF divided by RA times this V plus. Or we can say that 1 plus RF divided by RA times this V1 plus V2 plus V3 divided by 3. So now suppose if the value of 1 plus RF divided by RA, that is equal to 3, in that case the V out will be equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. So as you can see here in this configuration, as the number of input voltage increases, the complexity is also increasing. And here the individual input voltage that appear at this point is not only depend upon the value of this V1 and R1, but it also depends upon the different series resistors of the individual voltage sources R3. So in this configuration, we can say that the individual voltage sources are not isolated with respect to each other, and they have their own influence on the input voltage that appears at this non-inverting terminal. So that is the reason in most of the practical applications, this inverting summing amplifier is more preferred over this non-inverting summing amplifier. So that is all about the inverting and the non-inverting summing amplifiers.